So basically, the first thing I did with Thinking About You was I wrote the top line for the chorus. But when we sent Noah the stuff, I didn't I didn't actually send him my hook because I wanted to see what he would come up with. And so after that, we ended up Frankensteining the whole thing.
Awesome, dude. Well, I appreciate you doing this. My name's Adam, and this is about you and your journey in music. And we'll talk about the new song and the video, uh, which will be out by the time this comes out.
Yeah,
Sweet. So I did read. Born and raised. Were you born in Thailand? Is that what I saw?
that's right. I was born in Thailand. I have no memories of it was in Bangkok. I have no memories of that. My mom says I was in a lot of little movies as a baby.
Okay. Like movies, like home movies, or movies that were actually for.
Apparently, they were filming a lot around where I was. And so my mom just instead of getting a nanny like a normal person, she decided to drop me off on set.
That's awesome. And then you ended up moving to Canada. What part of Canada?
West coast of Canada, Vancouver.
Okay, in Vancouver. And how old was that when you were fairly young as well? Was that kind of like where
Yeah, that
you
was that
grew
pretty
up?
much. I was it was before I was even one.
Oh, okay, right on. And when you like, as far as like music, how did you get into music? Do you come from a musical or artistic household? I mean, to have your mom know where the film industry was to drop you off there. I mean, or have you in these films? Is that part of either of your
No,
parents' journey?
to, yeah, to be quite honest, I don't think my family's musical at all. I mean, I know my aunt plays a little guitar, but I didn't learn music from them. A lot of my music education just happened around me because here on the west coast of Canada, people love music.
Uh-huh.
That's really about it.
And what was the first instrument you then learned?
Well, the first, so when I was a kid, I really liked anything my mom was listening to. So I'm thinking like I was about 5. I think it was Josh Groban on Oprah. And later on, I actually ended up taking voice lessons with his voice teacher. And
No way.
that was my
How,
vocal journey.
how did that relationship form? I mean, that's a pretty big deal to get that person to be your vocal coach
Well,
then.
he's kind of an old guy, and he had a site, and we hopped on Google, and
Wow.
started working with. Actually, what ended up happening was I had some friends, and we all took voice lessons from him. It's kind of contagious.
Oh, that's funny. That's awesome. So that was where you started, was voice. And then
That's right.
were you in the chorus, choir, all that stuff as well?
I did, but you know, uh, I lip synced a lot in choir because I didn't always know the lyrics,
Okay.
and so that was a thing. But my choir teacher loved me, but in spite of all that.
Yeah, that works out. And then as far as songwriting, I know you were in like you wrote a bunch of K-pop stuff, right? That's kind of what you did
Um,
prior to what you're doing
I
now.
suppose I did. I would write the songs in English, so it never felt like K-pop to me when I was writing them.
Uh-huh.
And then of course they would get translated, I suppose, and become Korean later on. And that's pretty typical when it comes to K-pop top lining.
Oh, okay, so you top line the songs and then people would then go in and like how does that work? I'm sorry. Like they would rewrite the
Basically,
lyrics.
either my producer that I was working with at the time would, have an instrumental that I'd write a little bit to, or I'd produce something and I'd write a little bit to that. We would have a couple other songwriters hop on, and then at the end of it all, because the top line was usually, at least for the choruses, because I tend to write the hooks, was in English, and so that would get translated along with whatever else needed it.
Oh, okay. And when did you start writing songs? Was that pretty
I'm
early in your life or no?
no, truth be told, I really don't think I'm a songwriter at all, and so I'm not sure to be honest, if I've even really started at all.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have songs out. So
I do,
when
but
did you start working, I guess, to put out your own songs?
um, it would probably be around 2018 that I started kind of just like attempting stuff. Most of what I do is I hop in the booth, and and that's where the writing happens. I sing a lick, and hopefully something comes out of it.
And how did you meet these people that you started to work on this with? Like,
Um,
I mean, even in the beginning, was it like friends of yours you got together and you're like, oh, like let's
the,
make some
the
music?
whole
Or
the whole bit with the K-pop was because I was hanging out in Seoul a lot with friends, and so that's kind of just naturally how and these were the only friends of mine who made music, and so that's naturally how I started. Um,
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay. And then that started to gain some traction for you, those songs, or
I wouldn't say the music gained a whole lot of traction. I mean, but eventually it really panned out. Um, I definitely, because all my fans, that's kind of where I made my fans was, K-pop fans, I suppose. And and I felt like, yeah, it kind of blew up last year, and now here I am.
okay, so the K-pop stuff blew up last year. Was there a particular song or something that had happened that really,
Well, I was performing
elevated?
live, I was on tour, and it just kind of happened. Literally, just happened one night. It was a night or two before the last show of my tour. It was
Uh-huh.
in Milan, and I was in bed at the time, and my phone was lighting up, and you know, maybe it had told me that I had almost 100,000 new followers, and in just the past few hours, and the next day as I was, traveling around the city, it grew another 100,000. And so we counted, and it was about 200,000 followers in about 18 hours, which is, actually quite, yeah, I don't like to
That's like
talk numbers,
unreal, right?
but it was pretty shocking. I'd never seen any number go up that high so fast in my life. So it was quite nice.
Was that off of one single song, or was somebody
That
found
was
your
off
catalog?
of, that was off of a fan's TikTok of me that had received about 1.5 million views.
Wow.
And yeah, and so everybody just I don't know what the TikTok was. I think it was a montage of some of my music videos, and a little bit of my live performance. But yeah, and that's kind of what happened. It wasn't really one song, though. I did have a song called Imagine that was quite popular with amongst them.
Okay. And so you said did you travel back to Seoul? Like, how did, like, you went from Canada then Seoul, and were you living there? Like, how did that, like, tell
I
me
was
that
I would
journey, like,
say I was spending about a quarter out of every year in Seoul.
okay.
Not straight, but in about total. So I'd, visit every few weeks, and I don't. Oh my gosh. And I was talking to I had some very enthusiastic friends at the time, and that's kind of what got me started there.
Uh-huh. And once you had a little bit of music together, that's when you started what, playing out? I mean, to tour, to have a tour together and do all of that and music videos up for
Seoul
the
was the first place I ever performed live. And that was in I believe it was 2018.
okay.
I think it was underage, but I was allowed in the clubs to perform, and so it was a
So
fun
you
time.
yeah, so you did that for a while, and then when those songs, or when you got all those followers, like, how do you kind of ride that? Like, are you like, "Oh, wow, like, okay, all this is happening, I should put out more music." Like, what is, like, the instinct when it comes to that attention at that time?
The instinct, my initial reflex was like, oh my gosh, I need to do something for these people,
Mhm.
because I've got I felt like it had just become real, even though I was performing live and doing that, and touring and all that stuff. It didn't really feel totally real until I realized I had a larger audience. And so I went straight to the drawing board. As soon as I got back home, I bought a guitar, started learning how to write for it, and I've come up with ideas for an album, and I'm so excited for the album, by the way, which is coming out. I don't have a date yet, but I'm so excited for that. And that was kind of my reflex. There was, as soon as Brooklyn Juliana blew up, I had to write an album.
Okay, and was that I mean, recent? I mean, you put out the song "Thinking About You," and that was not the, I mean, what, this month, earlier this month,
Yeah,
right? And is that the first piece of what this album will be?
I like to think of it as kind of a baseline for what's to come. It's
Okay.
not necessarily indicative of all the places the album's going to go, but it's a good starting point.
Okay, and is that the first song that you have put out since that big, you know,
It
moment
is
on TikTok.
that it is, and my last single was a song called "I'm Gonna Love You" in 2021, and
Hmm.
so that now it's 2023. So wow, it's been a while.
And yeah, and this is the first kind of change in sound, right? On this song
It
or
is.
this album, right? Versus what you were doing with the K-pop stuff.
It's a bit of a change, you know. There's always been kind of like influences in my music, even when it was kind of more pop EDM. But right now, I'm trying to write for instruments that I feel like I know a little bit better and that I can kind of hear the music for, because I'm really terrible with the whole producing thing. So that's why the guitars and the drum kits.
Okay. And so but were you concerned about how your fans were going to react to how the songs change sonically?
A little bit, but I feel like they trust me. You know,
Okay.
over the years, I've found that like my fans understand me because they're able to point out things that I've never said in public before, and you know, they're very intuitive folks.
Okay, that's cool. And that must be, I mean, really awesome to have that kind of fan base that's of sounding board of sorts to kind of help you in
It
those
is.
things.
It
Yeah.
is. It's one of those things where sometimes I get nervous because you know I feel like social media messes with your head a lot. You
Hmm.
know, and then one night, maybe after I have a drink or two, I'll do something impulsive on social, and and then my fans will tell me, you know what, that was the best thing you ever did. I was entertained by that, whether I'm like streaming live or I post a picture that I would otherwise not.
Sure, sure. And so you get back to Vancouver, you start writing this record. And how long, how long have you been writing the song before you decided to release this one last month? Do you have a big batch of them finished, or was the album like something you wanted to write to completion before you started to release it? Like how long was it? How long ago did you write Thinking About You?
Thinking About You was written in January, right around the time I had a small show that I did in Sacramento, and I it was written around then.
Okay.
And at this point, I've got maybe about half the album written.
Awesome, awesome. And you worked on, from what I was reading, you worked on that song with Noah Cunning, right?
Yeah, you know, I did. That's right. You know, he wrote. I believe he wrote the verses. That's right.
Okay, yeah, I've had him on my podcast as I was curious. So
Oh,
yeah. So it was cool to see his name under like on the composition side of the credits that I've seen for the song. And I was like, oh wow, like I've had him
yeah.
on my
You
podcast
know, we
before.
love working with people whose first instincts are right. And he was just another one of those guys where it's like you send him your idea for a song, and you know his first instinct is that, and that's what you know, that's what made the record.
Did he work on any other songs on the album with you, or any of the songs that you have finished yet?
No, not no, he hasn't. I don't think.
That was the only one.
I haven't met him.
Oh, really? So how did you end up working with him?
So it was a situation where oh, I can't remember. One of my people contacted him somehow. And then I tend to have notes for my music, and we send that along, and you know, I heard what he wrote, and I was like, "Oh, I like where that's going."
Cool. And
And
then
then
you were ended up to build off of that?
um so basically the first thing I did with Thinking About You was I wrote the top line for the chorus, but when we sent Noah the stuff, I didn't I didn't actually send him my hook because I wanted to see what he would come up with. And so after that, we ended up Frankensteining the whole thing, and well, which is really, you know, typical in I guess pop music, and
Mhm.
and you know, I'm really thrilled with the result. I love the song.
Yeah, it's a great song. And you did a video too, that's coming out. Well, it'll be out by this point. So tell me about the music video. I haven't had a chance to see it.
The music video is, well, the first thing I have to say is it's gorgeous. So you know, I directed the video, and so I was really on top of like the visual direction, and I'm obsessed with some really nerdy things like cameras and lenses and stuff like that. And so
Mhm.
we got to use stuff that hasn't even been out yet, like glass and cameras. none of that's even a release yet. So, we're first in line to put those to production. And so it's absolutely stunning. The video has some characters who end up very happy in the end. And I hope that it makes people feel really good when they watch.
Awesome. You said that you are using like cameras and technology that hasn't been used yet?
Yeah. Do you know anything about like film?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I know like about mirrorless cameras and those sort of things, but
So
I'm
at the
curious
time,
what you're talking about.
so at the time we filmed on a camera that wasn't released yet. It was called the Red Komodo X, which is a cool
Okay.
camera.
I
And
know the red camera
yeah,
itself, but I
and
don't know that is that a different model of it.
it's
Red's the
it was
big.
a new camera that they were beta testing amongst users, and so it wasn't really released. And now we're getting really nerdy here. But and then the other part was the glass. So there are some lenses by a company called Atlas Lens Co. that make what's called anamorphic lenses, and we put those on our camera, and they had never really been used on a production before.
Wow. I know the red camera looks, I mean, that's like such a beautiful
It,
camera. So I'm
it's
sure the
it
video came out
you know
stunning, I would imagine.
And we had a great crew, and I mean, the cast was incredible. Like there's a whole cast in the video, and they're just so wonderful to work with, because sometimes I'm not the greatest actor on the planet, and so having great scene partners is super useful for me.
And you said you directed it as well?
I did. I've directed actually all of my music videos because I love doing that, and this one is pretty special.
And that's amazing. And with the rest of the songs, are you gonna continue? Like, do you have? Obviously, you just released this one earlier this month, and then the video is gonna come out. But do you have other songs that you're gonna release before you have the album complete?
I do. I want to release two more singles. We haven't picked them just yet, but I've got some idea of the ones I'm going to push for, and
Very, very cool.
yeah, that's where we're going with that.
What about live shows? You doing any coming up?
I don't have any dates that I can tell anyone right now, but I am actually working. I rehearse like pretty often in my garage.
Oh, cool. Do you have a band that you play with live?
I don't have a band yet. We just but I have my touring rig. So it's got my microphone and my ears, and I rehearse with that pretty frequently, and we design a little show and a set, and I love doing that. It's like putting together a show is one of my favorite parts of the job.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it kind of falls in line a little bit with the videos too. Like when you go see an artist and it's just like them up there playing, it's different if they've got this whole thing, like this whole presentation together. I feel like you would have a presentation together when it comes to
I do my
your live
best.
performances.
I do my best to really kind of get that above and beyond where people would normally expect an artist with maybe about like 300,000 or 400,000 followers.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's really awesome, man. Well, I can't wait to see the video. I mean, this will be out by that time, so I would have seen it. But that's cool that you use that camera. I know a bit about that camera, so I would imagine the video is going to look amazing. The songs great, and I can't wait to hear what else you have coming up.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for doing this, Brooklyn.
Well, thank you for having me.
I have one more quick question for you. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Oh my gosh. I do. And this one's really important. It's mostly for the dudes out there. Um, Stop looking for hacks. Stop looking for hacks. That's everyone like guys really want to know what I get these messages. Like I've got thousands upon thousands upon thousands of messages from girls, and then who all support me. But then the men, they come through. Whenever I get a message, it's like this one message, and it's, "What playlist were you on?" And the most important playlist to be on is your fans' playlist, and that's my advice.
Bringing it backward.